1 month from today is the 10-year anniversary of Skyrim, and as it would happen, we are getting yet another re-release of Skyrim, this time with Skyrim Anniversary Edition. If you haven't been following this too closely, more or less Bethesda is re-releasing Skyrim, but it'll be a bundle of Skyrim Special Edition itself, all of the released Creation Club content, and a ton of unreleased Creation Club content, and a fair amount of unreleased stuff with 26 new Creation Club items in total, which has the potential to add up to almost be just a full-on DLC-based amount of content and experience based on some of the sizes of past Creation Club stuff. But of course, we aren't talking about Skyrim in this video. We're looking at Fallout 4. And the announcement of Skyrim Anniversary Edition made a lot of people, myself included, kind of think, well, what about Fallout 4? Because if you look at Fallout 4 right now, there are a myriad of factors making it seem like a phenomenal candidate for a remaster of some kind. And this Skyrim Anniversary Edition news only adds fuel onto that fire for me. So let's break down what exactly is going on here and why I think there is a real potential of a remaster, remake, something in the future for this game. One of the first things to consider is Fallout 4 is doing quite well. We're approaching 6 years since the original release date of the game, and even despite that, it is the 62nd most played game overall on Steam right now, and the 36th most played game on Xbox right now. It is a similar player count to Fallout 76 on Xbox, and Fallout 76 is still actually getting updates. Fallout 4 hasn't gotten anything in years. And even further, and even perhaps the bigger mystery here is around this Creation Club situation, hence that tie-in with Skyrim Anniversary Edition. The final, at least so far, update for Fallout 4's Creation Club came on November 20th, 2019. So just about 2 years ago was the last time anything of Creation Club came out for Fallout 4. But work didn't actually stop in 2019, and work was continuing as of early 2021. That final update wasn't billed as the final big update or anything. When we heard several times again that things were still being worked on, it just seemed like for one reason or another things stopped. In late 2020, Todd Howard actually said in an interview that Creation Club stuff is still being worked on for the Skyrim side, and thus far things for both Skyrim and Fallout 4 have been worked on in tandem. And just earlier this year, in January of 2021, we got our final real update around this where we heard, "Hi everyone, we've had a lot of queries about new content for Creation Club. It means a lot to us to see this enthusiasm, but we don't have any news to share at this time. Many creators have been able to work on content through the pandemic, and we're looking forward to releasing this. However, for a variety of reasons, it's not something we can do just yet." And really since then, we haven't heard much. The only other major milestone was the announcement of Skyrim Anniversary Edition. And it's worth noting that this particular message was posted specifically in the Fallout 4 Creation Club forum. There's a separate one for Skyrim, so even though it doesn't say Fallout 4 in the message, it is applying to Fallout 4 based on where it was posted. So this means we find ourselves in this super weird situation where even though the final update to Creation Club was in November of 2019, for over a year after that, they were still working on stuff based on some of these other quotes and posts. So Bethesda was paying people to create content for Fallout 4 for Creation Club. And the way this works is Bethesda pays the people in Creation Club as they're making the product. It's not like they earn a commission when it actually goes live. Bethesda already paid for all of this stuff. Fallout 4 is still a hugely popular game in the top 50 on Xbox and almost in the top 50 on Steam at number 62. But for one reason or another, Bethesda is just sitting on this content. And it's really not clear why Creation Club came to an end, and it seems like work on new content has stopped at this point. It's not like they're still making new stuff. And one of the things a lot of people speculate may have been one of the reasons that Creation Club content came to a halt is this Creation Club lawsuit, where basically somebody was suing Bethesda because they bought the season pass. They argued the season pass should include Creation Club because it's mini DLCs. Obviously Bethesda doesn't agree, but that came out a while ago. We haven't had many updates. We don't really know what's going on with this lawsuit, but it's just something that happened around the same time in 2019 that maybe is a factor here. Otherwise, I truly have no idea why they're not releasing this paid for content for a pretty popular game they have. So now with that in mind, Bethesda has quite a bit of content made for Fallout 4. When it came to Skyrim, Bethesda made the decision to release all of this stockpiled Creation Club content with a new version of the game. Again, but now with Fallout 4, we have a bit of a different situation. This is where a type of hybrid remaster and bundled Creation Club release could actually make a lot of sense. Fallout 4 is the best-selling Fallout game ever, and the entire situation that actually led to that initial remaster of Skyrim with Skyrim Special Edition in the first place is kind of happening right now with Fallout 4, or at least it could be. I know I've said this a couple times on the channel now, but basically the reason we got Skyrim Special Edition was behind the scenes back in 2013, Bethesda was working on Fallout 4. At the same time, the new consoles were coming out at the time. That was the Xbox Xbox One and PS4, and Bethesda wanted to try out porting something to these new consoles, so they ported over Skyrim. Apparently it went pretty well, because they ended up re-releasing that port, of course with some other updates after the fact, as a full-on new game release, and we got Skyrim Special Edition. So I'm sure many of you can draw these similarities. Right now, Bethesda's working on Starfield. We just got a new console generation with the Xbox Series X as well as the PS5. They may have just ported over their most recent other game with Fallout 4. Of course, Fallout 76 being a spin-off, kind of its own online thing that's still getting actively updated, so a bit different. But of course, there's no actual evidence of that, at least yet. And one of the other issues we have with Fallout 4 right now that this could fix is with the console release. Even though it seemingly is actually a bit more popular on consoles, it does have an unfortunately small mod limit on consoles. As right now, Fallout 4 has a 2 GB mod limit. So you have 2 GB of available space to download mods on Xbox One, which in reality is actually a bit less and closer to 1.7 GB for a lot of people. Bethesda has confirmed that they can't actually increase the mod space even to 5 GB, which is what Skyrim has, without actually wiping everyone's mod storage. So more or less, they would have to format the drive completely, so all of the mods you have saved or downloaded would get deleted and your load order would get removed, and you'd have to re-download everything if they wanted to up it. And around this, they have made it clear they're not really interested in doing this without a significant increase, so maybe something like 10 GB, but they haven't given concrete numbers. And they mention how with a larger mod size, a larger load order, there's performance issues, etc. So that's really why it's not happened thus far, but they don't rule it out completely at some point in the future. So what would give you better performance, but would make that additional modability not come at the cost of the game's fundamental functionality? Well, a remaster. Having it actually run better on a next-gen version, on one of these new consoles that just came out, or some kind of remaster in general like we've been seeing with so many games. Basically what Skyrim got quite a few years ago now. A soft remaster with some technical improvements or more could actually help improve all of this and could be a massive asset in the long term. Skyrim mods are thriving on consoles, and a huge reason is many of these hugely ambitious mods can actually release. With Fallout 4, some of the massive mod projects are technically compatible on consoles, but they won't fit, because if you're making something crazy and ambitious, it's pretty quick and easy to get over 2 GB in size. And even right now, some weapon mods out there eat up like 1/3 of the mod space limit, so most people just don't even touch them. And even some of the large-scale mods that do release, like Sim Settlements 2, which is amazing, occupy such a large portion of the mod space that you can't exactly have a whole lot else. You can't really have a hugely modded load order with something like Sim Settlements, because you only have minimum space left for other mods you want to download. But I hear you might be thinking, all right, fine, but who really cares about mod space all that much? It seems like such a niche or specific issue. But when you look at just how successful these games continue to be overall for Microsoft, Skyrim having originally released a decade ago and still being the 27th most played game overall is insane. Fallout 4 being a bit lower at 36th. The reason they're holding these positions is mods. People able to mod and just consistently getting a flow of new free content for these games. So reinvestment into modability doesn't actually seem like a bad decision from Bethesda/Microsoft to continue this success from Fallout 4. But with all this thus far, it's relatively minor. Just be a simple remaster or lighter re-release of the game, which seems the most plausible based off what we got with Skyrim. But maybe for Bethesda, that just isn't enough. Not enough to actually justify the resale of Fallout 4, how they would make money. But at the same time, we do know that Bethesda is working on some kind of unannounced game based off a job listing for a server engineer to help create and improve systems for an unannounced title. That line came a few months ago. It was later edited out of the listing, but it spawns this line of thinking of what if Bethesda actually ports Fallout 4? They spent all this time updating their engine to get multiplayer functionality working for Fallout 76. And it doesn't really seem that shocking that they could continue to monetize that investment by porting Fallout 4 to the updated engine with co-op. And this would definitely explain some of the Bethesda LinkedIns that are mentioning an unannounced game with this multiplayer or server functionality. And then they could sell Fallout 4 with co-op, engine updates that came with the engine update overall, among all the other things I already mentioned in this video. Or if you want to get even more ambitious, and this is kind of increasing the difficulty by an order of magnitude, porting Fallout 4 over to Creation Engine 2, the updated Starfield engine. At this point, we don't even know what these massive engine upgrades are. We just hear there are massive engine upgrades, and this could lead to a pretty insane remake/remaster of Fallout 4. And this functionally porting the game over to this updated engine is functionally what some of the fan fan-made remasters are doing. Skyblivion, for example, is porting parts of Oblivion to Skyrim's engine and then actually retooling it when needed. I actually made a video just looking at all of these. It's a great watch for an update on biggest mods coming to Skyrim. But to be clear, an engine level upgrade or port like this would be a massive undertaking. Still seems quite possible, but it's going to require quite a bit of manpower, in particular with Creation Engine 2. There's a reason so many of these fan-made remakes or mods are take years to release. Now we do have this quote from Todd Howard from E3 a few years ago, where it basically discusses how he liked the original feel and look of games. He's not a huge fan of remasters in general. You could also argue that Bethesda doesn't necessarily want a new Fallout game as competition to Fallout 76. But for me at least, doing the research for this video, but really more so, covering Bethesda so intimately and now the larger Microsoft acquisition of Bethesda so intimately, to answer that original question, is Bethesda going to remaster Fallout 4? I think that answer has to be a yes at some point. If you look at Microsoft right now, Fallout is one of its most valuable IPs. And you can see in this video how they have multiple angles to approach monetizing Fallout even further. They of course already have Fallout 76, but it just doesn't seem like Fallout 76 ever achieved the level of success of some of the earlier Fallout games, in particular Fallout 4. The Fallout IP frankly just doesn't have a whole lot else going on, and Fallout 76 is about to turn 3 years old. It seems like something else on the horizon would make a lot of sense and could definitely fit in here. Microsoft has a lot of studios and a lot of developers, and now they have Fallout. It makes a ton of sense to me that we could see something out of them at some point, even if it's just a softer remaster like what we got with Skyrim Special Edition. And although I think it's incredibly likely we get this at some point, especially under Microsoft, there also is this oddity where we do have the when factor. The timing is kind of curious on this one. Obviously at the end of this year, we're getting Skyrim yet again. We're probably not going to see a Fallout remaster at the end of 2021. We would have known by now. And I kind of doubt they want to compete with Starfield at the end of 2022. So it seems like the most likely period could be 2023, kind of similar to what happened with Fallout 4 and then Skyrim Special Edition releasing 1 year later. Or maybe even somehow this comes to fruition in the first half of 2022. We're kind of in unprecedented times with Bethesda's recent growth, a new game, Microsoft acquisition, etc. So it seems possible, but that's also when Expedition's supposed to come out for Fallout 76. Do they want to compete with that? Is it even a consideration? So in conclusion, we have an interesting situation right now with a potential Fallout remaster. The game in general is kind of in a weird spot with that whole Creation Club aspect as well as the modability, and then fans just demanding a remaster. People want more Fallout 4, and it seems like they already have more Fallout 4. They're just kind of in this weird pickle, I guess, of how to distribute that content. I'd love to hear from you guys down below, based off what I've stated in this video, or perhaps even something I may have missed from this video, although I did search fairly hard, so hopefully I didn't miss anything major. What do you think? Do you think a Fallout remaster is probable? Do you want it personally? Would you be interested in buying this game again for some of the additional features I mentioned in this video? But even further, when do you think this could actually happen? It still could be a ways away before we see something like this. With that said, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, found it informative, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.